Hello and welcome back to another Sky Sports Fantasy Football Game Week preview. This week it is now Game Week 30 and we are going to have a couple of extra things moving into this Game Week preview, as we did get the new April fixtures announced, at least for the first 2 weeks of April. So we're going to look at some possible fixture gains in there, but mainly we're going to look at the captaincies and the single game days that have been announced. So we've got 2 extra single game days and we will look at that as we go into the video. As always, we are going to start off with the average remaining transfers. Again, not too much movement in terms of like the top 1,000, top 1,000, but there has been a big shift in transfers in terms of the top 10 has went up nearly 3 transfers as an average. So we are starting to get a lot of the better players kind of moving into that kind of range in terms of the top 10, like those who have more transfers and have just been better at the game are starting to move into the top 10. But again, top 100, top 1,000, top 5,000 hasn't really moved too much. We are getting a couple of about an extra transfer in terms of the top 5,000, and again, not really too much movement. But let's have a look at this week's transfers. So our transfers for this week then, obviously we did have a couple of single game days which has heavily influenced the transfers in this week. Hwang Hee-chan, basically about double the amount of transfers in than Neto has, so kind of goes to show you who the more popular option of the 50-50 was. It was Hwang Hee-chan. Obviously we did have the injury scare as well, which was a very rough 10 minutes that he could have possibly been missing the game, being out injured in the warm-up, but everything was alright. Unfortunately did blank though, so that wasn't ideal. Same with Ivan Toney, someone who came in, another very popular choice yesterday for Monday's game. And again, yeah, both 2 very popular picks and both of them blanked. Thankfully, Tony managed to get a shot tier right at the end, picking up a shot tier 1, which did technically make the transfer worth it. We did get 8 points out of it. Obviously, we're aiming for about 10, but it's not really too bad in the end. Hopefully, he can do something at the weekend before maybe some of us look to take him back out again. Because someone like Solanke has a lot of extra fixtures, and if you're really looking for that striker spot, then maybe you'll be looking to move Tony on. Also Watkins in there, someone who's just in great form. There's not really too much to go on about him. Obviously Neto and Haaland as well. In terms of the transfers out, Diogo Jota obviously picked up an injury. He's going to be a very popular one. I imagine most people had him as kind of like a Salah placeholder. Obviously with him being out injured, he has came out. Højlund again, another one who is out injured. Alisson also out injured. Porro also out injured. And Palmer, someone who again just doesn't really have enough fixtures to be able to keep him in the team. Obviously a lot of teams have about 4 or 5 fixtures in there over him. So our captains for this week then, we do have one single game day, and that is the Arsenal game on Monday. Again, another pretty standard week with Saturday, Sunday and Monday games. And Saturday, for me, I think the obvious pick there is Watkins. There is a couple of differentials you could possibly go for. Salah against Nottingham Forest, if he is back and fit, which he is expected to be, and then Heung-min Son against Crystal Palace. Now for me, the reason I've went for Watkins is because Luton do concede a very high amount of chances down the middle, and as of the time of recording this, Haaland has just scored 5 goals against them in the cup from striker. So for me, I'd be looking at Watkins. I think he is probably the better option. A punt, I think I do prefer Son to Salah, just because of the way the chances conceded works. Crystal Palace don't really concede a lot of chances, mainly from the right hand side, which is why I don't think Son's my number 1 pick. But for me, I do think Watkins is a very standout option there. On Sunday, I've went for Erling Haaland. Again, Man United just aren't really doing too well right now. Without Højlund as well, they're not really going to be scoring as many goals. And again, another team that just concedes a lot of goals through the centre. And again, Haaland, someone who has just picked up 5 goals, is going to be feeling very, very good for that derby game. So for me, I'd have him. Again, an outside shot is going to be Dominic Solanke, but for me, I think Haaland is the main pick there. And then Saka, for me, I think is the only option for Monday's captain. Obviously, during the start of the season, a lot of people were maybe just having Saliba and hoping he would cover off Saka, and it did work at the start of the season, but for now it doesn't really look like it. Arsenal are scoring an absolute bag of goals right now, Saka being at the helm of basically all of them. And again, another one where Sheffield do concede most of their chances from the right hand side or from the wings in general, but you are really going to be wanting Saka for that game. And finally, looking at our possible transfers, we do have quite a populated graphic here. We've got Watkins coming out, again, purely because of basically you're getting a 5-for-1 with Solanke if you include the captaincy against Luton. Obviously, Watkins is in brilliant form, so if you wanted to keep him, it's understandable. But when we look at the fixture gains, you are going to see really the kind of gains that you can get from taking Watkins out this week. Similar to Bowen, someone who I think West Ham have like the exact same game kind of like structure as Aston Villa do. So again, you're getting like a 4-5-for-1 with Solanke. If maybe you have Bowen, you've kept him this whole time. Well done to you if you did, because he did pick up a massive haul on that single on Monday. But if you feel like taking him out, again, someone like Solanke could be a very decent pick. Virgil van Dijk, for me, I think I would move Van Dijk on to someone like an Arsenal defender or just an Arsenal player in general. They do have a 3-for-1 Arsenal. Again, we'll look at this more in depth when we look at the fixture gains. But Van Dijk has Man City after Saturday, and you can really get like 3-4 games from an Arsenal player before Van Dijk plays again after that. So again, a few good fixture gains with Van Dijk there. And then we've got Pickford as well, someone again who just has less fixtures than, again, someone like Bournemouth, which is why we've got Neto in there, because you are getting a 4-for-1 with Bournemouth over Everton as well. Realistically, most Bournemouth players have about a 4-for-1, 3-for-1 at least over most teams. So for me, I think Neto looks like a pretty decent option as a Pickford replacement. Plus, Everton's fixtures don't look ideal right now. They do have a couple of difficult ones, which again we will look at, but Bournemouth fixtures look decent. I think Neto could be a decent pick. Again, Saka, someone if you've not got him yet, I definitely would be trying to get him in as soon as possible. And then Salah, someone I would wait on purely because, again, a lot of teams do have a lot more fixtures than Liverpool right now, and that Liverpool fixture is the Man City game. So next up, we're looking at our fixture gains, and again, a good few fixtures to look at for the likes of Bournemouth. So as you can see here, as we were talking about Watkins, you can see he's just got one game in there against Spurs on the 10th of March, whereas Solanke or just any Bournemouth players that you're interested in do have 4 fixtures, and it's 4 very, very nice fixtures as well. It's Burnley, Sheffield, Luton and Wolves. Obviously this Luton game is a single as well, so if you don't have Solanke right now or you don't have a captain, you're really looking at a 5-for-1 there over the likes of Watkins. Again, if we're looking at the other teams, Everton as well there, which is why I did have Pickford in there. If you're someone who brought Pickford in for the single a couple of weeks ago, can take him out and go for someone like Neto, and that way you're getting 4 games. You're avoiding the Man United game, the Liverpool game, a Newcastle game, a game against Bournemouth as well, which again Solanke could easily score in. So a couple of difficult games for Everton in there, and some very clean sheetable games for Bournemouth, really up until about April. Burnley's good, Sheffield's good, Luton's good, Wolves is good, Everton's good, Palace is good, and then Luton again. So for me, I think if you can go for Neto, I definitely would. Solanke, I think, is absolutely essential in there. And I think all round it looks like a pretty decent move. And again, we can get those 4 fixtures back up again, and you can see the likes of Jared Bowen, just West Ham players involved in that as well. Unfortunately, obviously Bowen has possibly just hit a good run of form. You are maybe going to want him for this Burnley game. So if you wanted to maybe keep him and go for someone else, then it makes total sense. Again, Liverpool in there as well with only Man City, and Brighton also in there. If maybe you wanted to get rid of someone like Dunk, if you've got too many defenders, you want to go for a striker. Maybe you've got Dunk and Van Heck and you want to move off of the double Brighton defence before this Man City and Liverpool run comes in, and Arsenal in there as well. It looks like a pretty decent move too. Looking at Arsenal as well, as I was just explaining there with Arsenal, the likes of Saliba against Van Dijk, you are getting that 3-for-1 in there with Sheffield, Brentford and Chelsea. As a move I'm going to make myself, I'm going to take Van Dijk out here and move Saliba right back in, and then that should be all good for me. I don't know if they've actually got 3-for-1s over anyone else. Obviously you can see the Watkins one in there as well, and obviously Bowen as well. They do have a 3-for-1 over Man City too, which is an interesting one. Man City only have Liverpool, if you're someone who's stocked up on a bunch of Man City players, likes of Foden, Bernardo Silva, Ake, could be a decent chance to move off of them as well on Monday. And move on to an Arsenal defence. I think the block Arsenal defence does look like the best option right now if you're looking for a block defence. The only problem being is they do have Chelsea and Man City involved in there as well, with Luton and Brighton coming up. With Villa and Brighton coming up in a couple of weeks after that. So maybe it's not the best idea, but it is definitely something you could consider. Is there any other teams that we can really look at? Again, Brighton don't really have too many fixtures. We obviously want to get Cole Palmer back in here next Monday, but that's something for next week. I don't know if there's really too much more to look at. 3-for-1s, etc. There's really only one team that's got 3 fixtures over the next couple of weeks, and that is Bournemouth. So for me, I definitely think the Bournemouth players are the ones to look at this week. In terms of the extra fixtures, obviously we've got these April fixtures. That is everything that is right here. So we've got a couple weeks in terms of single game days. We've got this Spurs versus Nottingham Forest game, which is on a Monday the 8th of April, and then we've also got Chelsea versus Everton on the 15th of April. You can see it better on this bit here. At the time of recording this, I didn't have Sky hadn't updated the fixtures, so I've had to pull this from the Sky Sports website, and we've kind of picked up a couple of the best captaincies then. So Saturday the 30th of March, there's something that was already confirmed, 31st as well. Tuesday the 2nd, I've went for Solanke. Again, Solanke against Palace looks like a pretty decent option. There's also possibly Son against West Ham. On Wednesday, the obvious option is obviously going to be Saka. Haaland also plays in that day against Villa, but I think I'd be looking more at Saka against Luton. And then I've got Salah when he's back against Sheffield. It's a very easy captaincy pick there. Game week 35, the 6th of April, Haaland is going to be the captain on Saturday. He is playing against Crystal Palace away. I probably wouldn't want to back up against him there. Sunday the 7th, Man United and Liverpool, and Sheffield and Chelsea. Cole Palmer's a pretty decent option. You could also go for someone like Salah if you wanted. And then Monday the 8th of April is our Spurs Nottingham Forest single, which Son is probably the best option. Saturday the 13th, Haaland again. Haaland playing against Luton, obvious captaincy pick there. Sunday the 14th, probably going to be someone like Salah, maybe Højlund if he does return and keeps his form back up. And then Chelsea, Everton on the 15th of April, that's going to be Cole Palmer again. We can see the table here. This is all our captains from now until the fixtures where they are announced up until. And here's our table of the best captains. So we're really going to be wanting Haaland. Everyone's going to have Haaland anyway. Salah's the best captain 3 times, so we are going to want to get him back once his fixtures do start to pick up again. Son twice, Saka twice, Solanke twice, Palmer twice, Højlund once, and Watkins once. So you will notice that Watkins isn't actually the best captain other than this Saturday, so we are obviously looking to get him out for Bournemouth players or someone like Solanke. If you don't want to get Watkins back, or maybe you're low on transfers, there really isn't an obvious captaincy day for him up until about mid-April anyway. So you could maybe get away with not going for him as well. And again, we only have 4 captaincy days, which should be pretty easy to navigate. Everyone's going to have Saka, everyone's going to have Cole Palmer again here, and it's really just about getting in Son to cover that other captaincy day. So nothing that's really obscure, everything's looking pretty decent. And then finally, wrapping things up, we've got my team and kind of how things went over at the weekend. So for me, I made 2 transfers. I actually took Solanke out this week for Tony, and I took Adingra back out for Hwang Hee-chan as well, just to cover off those 2 captaincies. Down to 24 transfers with that. And again, with the likes of Tony, I'm happy enough just to keep him for a little bit. And see how that goes. We can maybe move him on to someone like Son or Salah later down the line. For me, Watkins is coming back out for Solanke here on Sunday. That is going to be one of the transfers I make. Van Dijk's going to be coming out for Saliba, and I believe Hwang or Trippier. It might be Trippier actually. I've got it on my spreadsheet somewhere. I think Trippier might be coming out for Saka, so I think it's going to be 3 transfers for me. And actually saying that, I'm probably going to end up making Pickford to Neto as well, so it could end up being 4 transfers for me this week, which is going to bring me down to about 20, but hopefully does set me up quite nicely in the long run. I'm quite happy with the transfers. Obviously Adingra came in, got a 17-pointer last week, picked up only a 2-pointer this week. Would like to keep him longer, but he only came in for 2 games. It was kind of part of that daisy chain where I wanted to move on to someone else. Solanke, I could have just done Watkins straight to Tony, but I think Watkins is going to be my captain for Saturday's game, and for me, I just don't think there was any real chance of me wanting to miss to miss the, where am I going with this? To miss to miss Watkins playing against Luton. So I thought I'll just make the extra transfer and take Solanke out for now, get 2 free games out of Tony before Solanke plays again, and then I'll just captain Watkins and move him on. So in terms of captaincies this week, it is going to be Watkins, as I just explained. Haaland is obviously going to be the captaincy on Sunday, and then I'm going to captain Saka again on Monday. No real surprises there. In terms of the second team, massive gains this week. We have basically managed to bring myself from 22,000 in the world up to 9,000 in about 3-4 weeks. Purely because of this Adingra, Adingra as well actually, but Bowen captaincy. I've literally had him since weeks ago, and I thought I'm not going to make the Tony transfer because I've already got him there. So I had Højlund in this team. He came out for Hwang. So obviously, literally 3 players have massively boosted my rank, and that's Højlund, Adingra and Bowen. So good news for me. Again, just kind of having fun with this team at this point. Down to 20 transfers already in here. Don't really know what transfers I'm going to make. I'm not really too bothered. This is just for a bit of fun. So I don't actually have Watkins in this team, which isn't ideal for captaincy. So who is it actually going to be? There's no real good picks here, so maybe if Nunes is available, he'll be the captaincy against Nottingham Forest. 4 City players on Sunday. It's going to be Haaland, and then I'm probably just going to bring Saka in as well. Maybe for someone like Foden, maybe I'll even take Bowen out. I'm not too sure. But yeah, pretty decent weeks for me. I literally a very, very small green arrow there for me. I generally think I rose about 50 places. Again, because Saka scored and Bowen dropped me about 400 on Monday as well, which wasn't ideal. But again, not too bad. We are now sitting about the 4k range, just poking myself in to the top 3k. So hopefully this week, if we're bringing the Bournemouth players in, the likes of Neto and stuff, do quite well. And I can start to climb those ranks again. Again, transfers are probably going to take a hit this week. We'll see how things go. Again, make sure to follow me on Twitter for the exact updates as it gets closer to the deadline. So that is going to be it for this week's Game Week preview. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe if you are new, and I will see you all in the next video.